So, who is the Arkham Knight? That is the question that I'm gonna try and answer within this video. But what is up, everyone? Welcome to some more Batman Arkham Knight latest news and coverage. Within this video, I'm gonna be talking about all of my theories for the possible identity of the Arkham Knight. Definitely hope you've enjoyed all of my previous videos, including a recent news roundup regarding all of the pre-order DLC for Arkham Knight. I've also recently uploaded some very long live streams covering and replaying the story modes within Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Origins. Definitely check out all of that content here on my channel. But jumping into today's video, I'm gonna start off my speculation and theories with two characters that I definitely think will not be the Arkham Knight. Let's start off with the most obvious character, the Joker. So I honestly feel that even though Joker dying within Arkham City was pretty unfortunate for a lot of hardcore comic book fans, I think the Joker's death really gave the Arkham series an opportunity to explore very deep storylines with other major characters like Scarecrow, Two-Face, Penguin, and now that the Joker is dead, I'm not saying that that was a huge positive thing for the Arkham series, but I think it left open opportunities for other characters to shine and other characters to rise to the top within the next Arkham game. So I honestly feel that even though major villains do tend to return into sequels for certain franchises, that doesn't mean that the Joker will return in Arkham Knight. Now I really feel the Joker is in fact dead, no question about that, but if you guys also saw the E3 gameplay for Arkham Knight, Rocksteady showed off the opening of the game, and literally the first few seconds of the game shows the Joker's body being burned. Now we already knew that the Joker's body was burned based on the Arkham comic books, so I'm glad that Rocksteady is pretty much confirming the Joker's death with the opening of the game, because not everyone reads the comic book, so that's good clarification. So people have theories, oh well, there's Star Labs, there's all these other places within the DC universe that could create a clone of the Joker or possibly revive him. Now I think Rocksteady's not going to do something that simple, and the reason I say that simple is because I think the Joker's death honestly left a pretty positive impact on the Arkham series, and I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but I feel that with the Joker gone, it leaves big opportunities for other characters and other villains to rise to the top and shine and be a real issue for the Batman and to be a really major villain, just like Scarecrow will be in Arkham Knight and just like the Arkham Knight himself. So I don't think Rocksteady's gonna do something super simple and end up revealing the Arkham Knight's identity as the Joker. I just don't think that Rocksteady would do such a thing. And we know for a fact that Rocksteady has a pretty talented team of writers for the actual storyline of the game. So again, I don't think they're gonna make the storyline so predictable to a point where we see the Joker himself, you know, in the Arkham Knight armor. I just don't think that's gonna happen. And another thing is, the Arkham Knight is a militarized version of Batman, so I don't think Joker is at that skill level or at a level of combat to where he can take on the Batman in the way that the Arkham Knight is based on the trailers. I just don't think that's the case. And another thing, you know, there's so many factors here, let me just name them. Another thing is that the Arkham Knight actually watched the events of Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. If you watch the events, then he cannot be the Joker. So again, honestly, the Joker is probably 99.999% not going to be the Arkham Knight. I just don't see this happening, guys. And there is a last theory that I wanted to talk about. One about the Joker possibly being trained by Ra's al Ghul to be a militarized version of Batman. And again, I just don't think that's realistic for the type of storyline we're going to be seeing. It just won't happen. I just really don't think it'll happen. But another big character that will definitely not be the Arkham Knight is Hugo Strange. Now, We all know Ghul Strange is a pretty complicated character, very mysterious, and we know he in fact died within Arkham City. So, him dying doesn't mean a thing. As I said before, villains do tend to return into certain sequels of franchises, so his return is always possible, but for him to be the Arkham Knight, I don't think it's too realistic, once again, for a character like Ghul Strange to be a militarized version of Batman, to where you can actually take him on and almost beat him. I just don't think that's realistic for his character. Now, what I would support is this theory right here. As we know, Ghul Strange was working with Ra's al Ghul within Arkham City. Ghul Strange was pretty much a puppet for Ra's al Ghul's plans, and the original plan for him was to end up replacing Ra's al Ghul in the end, if Arkham City was successful, and if the Batman was killed. So, it is possible Ghul Strange could have got some training from Ra's al Ghul to fight, but again, I don't think that's the direction that the writers from Rocksteady would want to take with Arkham Knight. I just don't think it's going to be that simple, guys. And Ghul Strange really isn't that big of a character, I would say, with the Arkham series. I think it's a pretty interesting character from the Batman universe, but I don't think they would put him in the place of the Arkham Knight. I just don't think that's the case, but let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Joker and Ghul Strange not being the Arkham Knight. But let's move on to some possible suspects for the actual identity of the Arkham Knight. Now, I came up with this list myself, so it's all my doing. Leave all your comments in the comment section regarding what you think. But starting off with character number 1, Prometheus. So, we know Prometheus does exist within the Arkham series. We've seen Easter eggs from him in both Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. We even had a character bio specifically for his character, so we know he exists. The real question is, will he ever appear in the Arkham series? Now, I think if Prometheus was the Arkham Knight, that would be a great way to bring his character into the series as a whole. So, I think if he was the Arkham Knight, it would make perfect sense. We know that Prometheus is a pretty tough character for Batman to face. He's up there with his level of combat, so I think if he was the Arkham Knight, that wouldn't be a disappointment. That wouldn't be an unrealistic choice for the Arkham Knight, because we do know that the Arkham Knight is a brand new character created specifically by Rocksteady for their game. We've never seen his character before in the comic books, because if we did, we would know his identity. So Prometheus being the Arkham Knight isn't out of the question. I think, it's very possible. I think since Prometheus is a pretty tough fighter and a very unique character that not many people know about, it would be a great way to bring him into the series and to have him as the Arkham Knight. It would be pretty cool, but let me know what you think about Prometheus. Next up, we have Hush, aka Thomas Elliot. So, we all of course know that he does exist within the Arkham series. We had an Easter egg from him back in Arkham Asylum, and we of course saw him on screen within Arkham City. Now, the most interesting thing about Hush is that towards the end of his side mission, you learn that Thomas Elliot actually gave himself plastic surgery to make himself look like Bruce Wayne. Now, we know that Bruce Wayne and Thomas Elliot do have connections to each other, but at the moment, Hush does not know Batman's identity. So, the fact that he's made himself look like Bruce Wayne is honestly very interesting. Who knows where that storyline is heading with Arkham Knight. I'm really looking forward to see where it goes, but he could be the Arkham Knight, guys. You never know. I mean, Hush is a pretty interesting character. So, if he possibly found a way to make himself almost just a direct militarized version of Batman to a point where he can take him on fist to fist, that would be interesting. As long as Rocksteady explains very thoroughly how Thomas Elliot became a militarized version of Batman, I'm all good with that. But I think it is possible that since he's taking on the mantle of Bruce Wayne in a way by making himself look like him, he could even be, the Arkham Knight. You never know. I think Hush is a very unique suspect for his identity, so we'll have to wait and see. But I know Hush might tie into the storyline in a different way. Probably not as the Arkham Knight, but he definitely will tie into the game in some fashion, and we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But next up, we have Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood. So before I bring my thoughts on Red Hood, let me also mention one thing. We know that Troy Baker is voicing Two-Face, Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood, and the Arkham Knight. So let me say one thing. Just because Troy Baker is doing the voice acting for those two characters does not mean they're the exact same character as one. You know, we've seen plenty of times before actors do voices for two different characters within a game, and the characters may not even have a connection to each other. So I think Troy Baker doing the voice of both Jason Todd and the Arkham Knight, that doesn't necessarily mean that Jason Todd is absolutely 100% the Arkham Knight, but we'll have to wait on that. The reason why I think Jason Todd could be the Arkham Knight is because I think it would be a great way and a great time overall to bring him into the Arkham universe. We know he exists, that's another thing. If you guys remember back in Arkham City within the Joker's Carnival map, if you play that map as Robin, the Joker himself will say at the beginning of the fight, "Hey, didn't I kill you already?" That is a direct reference to the Joker killing Jason Todd within the comic books. Now, it could just be a simple Easter egg, but I honestly think that was a direct reference to Jason Todd existing within the Arkham universe. Now, Rocksteady could change things up a bit. They could bring Jason Todd back, and they can make him the Arkham Knight. That would be a very interesting piece of storyline. Now, what's unclear is whether or not the Red Hood DLC takes place before or after Arkham Knight. I'm assuming before, but that's not for sure. I think another possible explanation as to why the Red Hood DLC even exists, if Jason Todd is the Arkham Knight, the Red Hood DLC could pretty much be a prequel as to why Jason Todd transitioned from Red Hood to the Arkham Knight. But we do know that Jason Todd was Robin, so that DLC is going to have to somehow explain how he transitioned from one character to the next. But we'll have to see if that's even true and if Jason Todd is the Arkham Knight. But another thing, you know, even though I said voice acting really doesn't matter here, and it doesn't matter that Troy Baker's doing the voice of both Jason Todd and Arkham Knight, I still think that if you listen to his voice from the trailer, you know, the fact that he says, "You're done, old man," you know, it seems like the Arkham Knight is maybe younger than Batman, you know, who knows? And that could easily support the fact that Jason Todd could be the Arkham Knight. So that's another thing, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, this next theory I have, I don't know about this one, but I just wanted to mention it. Another Batman ally, so potentially Robin or Nightwing. Now, this is probably unlikely, but I think it would be interesting to see within the Arkham Knight storyline. You know, what if Robin or Nightwing was the Arkham Knight the whole time and it was a big twist? You know, instead of the old fake Joker gag, it could be, you know, an old fake Robin gag in a way. You know, it would be interesting to see Robin or Nightwing be the Arkham Knight. You know, the fact that Arkham Knight says, "You're done, old man," it kind of seems like, you know, the Arkham Knight is the future in a way. He's a younger, militarized, dark version of Batman who kills. And I think, you know, if Robin or Nightwing ended up being the Arkham Knight, that would tear Batman apart, and that would just break him down even more. We all know that Bruce Wayne himself was pretty depressed about Talia's death, even the Joker's death as well, you know. So if Robin or Nightwing ended up being the Arkham Knight, I think that would just bring him down even more, and that would be extremely deep for Batman, Oracle, and Alfred. That would just be insane, but who knows, maybe that's not true. We'll have to wait and see on that as well. That was just another theory that I had, but next up we have Ra's al Ghul. So we know that Ra's al Ghul always tends to die and come back. We all know that Ra's al Ghul was killed during that free fall from Wonder Tower back in Arkham City. But if you guys remember, once you guys completed the main storyline of Arkham City and returned to where Ra's al Ghul was killed, his body was gone. So either someone took his body and revived him with the Lazarus Pit, or maybe Ra's al Ghul survived the free fall but just appeared dead at the moment of the fall. So we'll have to wait and see how Ra's al Ghul is implemented with the Arkham Knight storyline. He could just be a simple side mission within the game, but it's important to note that the fact that Arkham Knight can almost outsmart Batman and probably outfight him in a way, it supports the fact that it could be Ra's al Ghul. We know Ra's al Ghul is a very tough foe for Batman to beat. It was pretty tough to beat him within Arkham City, so wouldn't be a surprise if Ra's al Ghul ended up being the Arkham Knight. But we all know that if the Arkham Knight is currently appearing to be a younger militarized version of Batman, that would kind of throw off that theory in a way, because Ra's al Ghul isn't young. We know that he's centuries old, and we also know that by using the Lazarus Pit, it makes him young again, but not teenage level and not in his 20s. I'm assuming, a little older than that, so that's kind of why Ra's al Ghul may not be Arkham Knight. But in the same fashion, I think Ra's al Ghul being the Arkham Knight honestly wouldn't disappoint me. It wouldn't be like a cheap, cheesy storyline in a way. I think it would be interesting, but we'll have to wait and see how the League of Assassins are implemented with the Arkham Knight storyline, but it'll be interesting. Next up, we have a Bruce Wayne clone. So this theory isn't too strong, but I'm basing this on a recent leak that went out, and I don't think the leak is true, because if it is, that's pretty sad, honestly. Around, I would say 4 or 5 months ago, there was a post online. If I can find the link, I'll link it down in the description, but someone was claiming that the Arkham Knight is a Bruce Wayne clone who was made by Amanda Waller to take down the Suicide Squad. So this is another thing. We know that the Suicide Squad exists, and we know that Amanda Waller exists within the Arkham universe. They of course appeared after the end of the credits within Arkham Origins, and we also know that within Arkham Origins Blackgate for the 3DS, I believe, Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad also played a role in that storyline. So we know they exist, and we know that's canon. But as far as how Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad would affect the Arkham Knight storyline, we'll have to wait and see on that. But it would be interesting to see Amanda Waller creating a clone of Bruce Wayne. Now, the theory, or the leak I should say, that was put online was that the way that she made this clone was using a blood sample of both Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. She of course took Talia's body from where she was killed back in the Monarch Theater within Arkham City. So that's a very strong theory that someone either made up, or that's a very interesting leak that came out 4 to 5 months before the release of the game. So whoever leaked that, I honestly feel that, deep down I hope it's not true. But if it is true, that would be a pretty complex storyline. Amanda Waller creating a clone of Batman pretty much by merging DNA between Bruce Wayne and Talia. That's pretty interesting. Now, as far as how that'll affect Batman's legacy, we'll have to wait and see. But last but not least, we have one of my favorite characters of all time, Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke. Now, it hasn't been confirmed if Deathstroke will appear within Arkham Knight, but I honestly loved his character and his gameplay mechanics within Arkham Origins. Now, if Deathstroke was the Arkham Knight, that would be almost no surprise. I think Deathstroke's a pretty badass and tough character, and he's pretty tough for Batman to beat. So if he was the Arkham Knight, wouldn't be a surprise. We know that Deathstroke himself's already a challenge, but it would be interesting to see Slade Wilson trying to become a militarized version of Batman. And we all know that he's skilled with weaponry. We know he's skilled with a staff. We know he's skilled with all these different tools. So it would be unique to see him in the Arkham Knight armor. But again, the reason why Deathstroke may not be the Arkham Knight is because we know that, judging from his voice within a trailer, and hey, it could be a voice changer, we don't even know. We could have a theory here that the Arkham Knight is a younger version and a militarized version of Batman. So Deathstroke, we know, is not younger than Batman. So that's why that theory kind of isn't supported with that fact. But we have to wait and see. It could be Slade Wilson using a voice changer, making himself sound younger than Batman. So we don't even know how that'll play out. But if Deathstroke was the Arkham Knight, that to me would be pretty cool. But I am hoping to see the return of Slade Wilson altogether within Arkham Knight. And if we do, that'll be awesome. Because again, I love playing as him within Arkham Origins. And it would be nice to play as him again within Arkham Knight. But thanks for watching, everyone. My theories and speculation regarding the Arkham Knight's identity, we will of course find out who the Arkham Knight is when it releases this Tuesday, June 23rd. I've of course been avoiding every spoiler that's been getting out there. I want to enjoy the game for myself when it comes out, and I want to cover it here on my channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned in for some more Arkham Knight coverage. Peace out, YouTube.